this is me, Craig Ferguson. I'm inviting you to come and see my brand new comedy hour. Well, it's about an hour and a half, and I don't have an opener because these guys cost money. But what I'm saying is I'll be on stage for a while. Anyway, come and see me live on the Pants on Fire tour in your region. Tickets are on sale now, and we'll be adding more as the tour continues throughout 2025 and beyond. For a full list of dates, go to thecraigfergusonshow.com. See you on the road, my dears. My name is Craig Ferguson. The name of this podcast is Joy. I talk to interesting people about what brings them happiness. Hello, everybody. The type of stand-up comedians that I like best of all, this is my personal taste, are people who are authentically themselves. They have their own voice. They're not necessarily observational, they're more anecdotal. But they observe as the anecdote. And my guest today is definitely one of those. She's the delightful Fortune Feimster. Enjoy, everybody. Thank you for noticing how cozy I am. I'm snuggled today.
I love it.
It's a little chill. I see we're both wearing t-shirt, button-down shirt and top.
That's right.
Which I think that says we're in show business, but we're not. It's not nighttime. It's daytime.
And we don't take ourselves too seriously, but we're trying.
Serious, but we're trying. And sometimes we have to do little bits of home improvement.
That's right.
Which is what I was doing today, actually, before this.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was actually. I'm going to tell you something because I'm hoping that you'll. Well, look, I need to tell someone, so I'm going to tell you.
Please.
I was trying to get a chair into a room.
Yeah.
But it's an old chair in an old house, and it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So I did a bad thing.
What'd you do?
I sawed the legs off the chair.
No.
And then I took it out of the room, and then well, it's an armchair, so you can't see. And then I magically fixed underneath. Is
this the chair you're sitting on?
No, I don't think anyone should sit on this chair.
Okay. I was about to say, I don't trust the sturdiness of the chair now.
I think it'll be okay. I think it'll be all right. I did the a screw going that way and a screw going that way thing. So like a bone, so it's like a fracture. And then I built around it. But I'm still not going to let anyone over 25 pounds sit in the chair. So it's basically it's a chair. It's for a cat.
For looks.
Basically, it's a chair for a cat.
I honestly would have never thought of doing that. Just so you know, I would have been like, the chair doesn't fit. I guess that's that.
No, I can't do that. I cannot. I must bend the world to my will.
Got it.
I don't think that's true. Now listen, tell me this. Are you still doing the lovely Tom Papa's radio show?
I sure am, with our mutual friend Joe Bolter, 5 years now.
Wow. Joe Bolter, who is Joe the producer of Tom's show?
Yeah.
Right. So Joe and I, he writes my stand-up with me.
I know. Yeah.
Joe and my wife and I write whatever stand-up I do, the three of us write it. That's it.
Amazing.
I know.
I've never gone to Joe for stand-up ideas, but I feel like I should.
You should. Yeah. I highly recommend it. He's also very good at every now and again, he's very good at organizing because I kind of get a little scatterbrained when I write stand-up. He's very good at channeling stuff, and then every now and again he will land you a punchline. And there's one that I have actually, it's just I've just recorded it, but every night I did that line, and it would get a huge laugh, and I would always think of Joe every night.
Oh, that's so cool!
Yeah, it was like, oh man, every single night.
Yeah,
it was about having a UTI. And I had a UTI, and the only relief I could get was putting my penis in a glass of cold water. That was the only way that I could feel any kind of relief. Was putting I just said that as you were drinking a glass of cold water, and I apologize.
And I didn't know that was coming, honestly.
No, I know.
I put this up to my mouth and was like, oh.
But I was, and it's a true story. It was when I had this terrible UTI, and the only relief I could get was putting my penis in a glass of cold water, and I got a laugh. And then Joe added the punchline, which I think was great, which was, "I could never go back to that Denny's," which I think is and every night I would, yeah, it was. Anyway, tell me this, because you're one of the modern wave of young stand-ups. You're the young stand-up crew. What's so different about you guys? What's so different? I feel like I'm Jimmy Glick today. What's so different about you guys? You're kind of, is your stuff anecdotal? You're kind of anecdotal? Is it personal, or is it?
Yeah, I think the difference is, and I appreciate the calling me young. Thank you. All the creams I've been putting on my face.
Yeah, I wear a lot of creams too.
I think the difference is a lot of our stand-up is about us.
Yeah.
The comics I watched ahead of me were just doing more observational comedy, what's happening in the world. Do you ever notice when that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
set up punchlines, stuff that was good for late night spots, and the Carson days, and then all you guys on late night. It needed to be snappy and punchy and like get to it.
It did, and I think that's right. I mean, because my stand-up's always been anecdotal as well. I've always done stuff like that, and whenever anyone was introducing me at a club, they would always say, "Is there anything you don't want me to say?" I say, "Just don't mention growing up in Scotland. Other than that, it's fine."
Yeah.
But I was never a huge fan of the style, which is, have you ever noticed how things are like other things? And
yeah, it's not I could never do that myself.
I mean, some people are great at it, but I don't really connect to it, even as an audience member. It doesn't really do it for me. Who were the comics that you were influenced by? Who were you kind of drawn to when you were little?
Weirdly enough, Carol Burnett, who's not.
I don't think that's weird at all. She's a genius.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there just weren't many people my age watching her. But my grandmother was a huge fan of hers, and my grandmother was pretty buttoned up. Not someone who was like considered a silly person at all. And I would watch the reruns of the Carol Burnett show and just die laughing. And this woman who, is always very like together and ladylike, seeing her just like cry laughing, I was like, oh my gosh, what power does this woman on television have? Yeah. And I started watching the show with her, and she was so silly and so, not taking herself too seriously. And she covered it all. She would have her monologue, which essentially is stand-up. She would do the sketches and then answer questions at the end, which was essentially improv. And I didn't realize I was like really taking that in for my own comedy. So my background is sketch comedy, improv, and stand-up, just kind of hitting different parts of comedy in different ways. I loved her. Saturday Night Live was a big influence on me. I started with the cast of like Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, then went into like Will Ferrell, Molly Shannon. I think I'm just drawn to those really big personalities.
Yeah, I think that it's interesting you mentioned Carol Burnett, and I think Molly Shannon as well is a fantastic performer. But the innovators, I think, of particularly sketch comedy, but in stand-up as well, I think of a lot of them are women. Like Lucille Ball created, the modern sitcom. I mean, just flat out did it. I mean, people say The Honeymooners, but I'm like, no, it was Lucy, I think. And then Joan Rivers, who was might be one of my favorite stand-ups ever.
Absolutely.
Did you ever see Joan perform?
I never saw her live, and I was so sad that I never did, but I watched her documentary and was so impressed by
I've
what
seen
she
that.
went, how she gathered jokes and that whole filing system of jokes. Like, I can't even imagine that. I certainly don't do that.
No, I can't do that. Do you have stuff written down?
I started writing down my whole set once I was about to film it.
Right.
Because I realized I had not done that with any of my half hours. And so now I'll be like, I don't remember that one story or joke, and I don't have it written down anywhere. So I have to go back and listen to some of those if I ever want to tell one of those jokes. But now I write the whole set out before I film it.
Does it help you memorize it as well?
Yeah, whenever I'm building an act, I write everything out first. I'm not a comic who can just go up on stage and with a premise and be like, let me see where we go with this. I have to know exactly where I'm going.
That's why you need Joe.
Yeah.
Because Joe will say, oh no, put it in this chunk, this chunk, this chunk.
Yeah.
How long do you go up from when you do stand up? How long do you usually go on for?
Like when I'm doing my own show? Probably around at the minimum an hour. And if I'm in the flow, an hour 10. But I'm not one of those comics that wants to be up there for 2 hours.
No.
I'm not that interesting and have enough to say to make that appealing.
It's funny, when I was younger, I would do a maximum of an hour 15, right? Maybe the most. And now that I'm old and don't have anyone to talk to, I'll do like an hour 45.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, you're probably you're just like probably a chattier person than me.
It's possible. I think that it's part of how I do it. How did you? I mean, when you were drawn into it, you saw Carol Burnett, you saw your grandmother laughing at Carol Burnett.
Yeah.
Is that when you I want to do whatever that is?
No, I was from a small town in North Carolina, like 8,000 people. So the idea of like being a comedian for a living did not just did not happen.
Yeah.
I knew people did it, and I thought, well, good for them, how magical. But my mom was very much like, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna get a master's degree. Like, academics was very much like pushed like for me. But when I went to college, I discovered the arts a little bit, theater, and I became friends with the people in the theater, and I thought they were so cool and different and unique. And I was like, I want to be in that world. So I did some plays in college, but I was pretty terrible at them because they were all dramas. And I had no experience or training. I had terrible stage fright. So I thought, this is as cool as this is. I don't think it's for me, but I just didn't know comedy was so different, that it was the comedy that I would gravitate towards. I moved to LA for just kind of a life experience. Never been there before, had a job, like doing PA work. And someone told me about the Groundlings, and that they had this improv school, and I knew all these cool SNL people had gone there, and I'm like, well, I love them. I'd love to learn to do what they did. Still not thinking of it as a job. And I signed up for an improv class as truly as a hobby. Like, let me do something fun. It's hard to meet people in LA. Maybe I can make some friends.
Sure.
And my teachers just were really encouraging of like, you're really good at this. Like, you should keep doing it. And it quickly became a passion. And then once it clicked, I just was like, there's nothing else I want to do. I called my mom. I'm like, I'm not going to grad school. This is what I'm doing. She's like, oh my God.
What did you study at college?
Communication, weirdly enough.
Wow, come on.
Yeah.
It's sort of communication.
Yeah.
Did you get pushback from your parents? Did they just they didn't understand the world that you were wandering into?
Yeah, I mean, it just didn't make any sense. My mom was just like, really? Like, what are you doing out there? Like, I think she thought I'd go for like a year or two and come back home and start grad school. But yeah, I think her worry was that I was just going to be broke forever. I wouldn't be able to make any money. And I was broke for 8 years.
I was broke for a long time too. I remember it. I think it's kind of interesting because I look at people who come from advantaged backgrounds, people who like, yes, I would like a career in comedy. And then it took me 5 years to write my thing. And I'm like, how the fuck do you pay the bills? How do you eat? But of course they come from money, and I think it makes I don't think it makes you a better or worse comedian, but I'm jealous that they
have a safety net.
Yeah. I wish I'd had it, and I still think I feel a little chippy about it. You know what I mean?
Really?
I'm like, I think
it's good and bad though.
Yeah, no, look, I feel like it's ridiculous. It's a fault in me. You can't judge someone from their background. That's prejudice.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes I dismiss people if they're from very privileged backgrounds, and I try not to do that. But I I'm a little more kind of, you had money, or your dad knew Steven Spielberg, did he? Oh, okay.
It changes your drive though. When you don't know how you're going to pay your bills.
Yeah.
You're like, I better figure this out. I better work 3 times harder than everybody else because otherwise my rent's not gonna get paid. So I definitely think it added to my work ethic. I had a friend. It
does, but I also made some poor choices.
Really?
For money. Yeah. I mean, like, I've made some movies where I thought...
Is that how you learned to put your penis in water?
No, that was a medical emergency, Fortune. I didn't think you was going to get mocked for that. That was a medical emergency improvisation.
You didn't used to get paid for that.
No, you know what? By the time I was way, no one would want to see that.
No one would want to pay for that. All right.
It's a very niche kink.
Dire times.
Yeah, I guess my OnlyFans page.
What would you do? What would you do for money? Do you remember like a...
I didn't, I did regular jobs, like, I worked to hang bars and that kind of thing. But I mean, I've taken jobs in show business where I was like, when you hear actors say, well, I didn't think the part was right for me. Like, if you offer me a part, I'm probably going to do it.
You're going to take it. Yeah,
I'm probably going to take it. But Tom Lennon says his answer is yes. I send the script. Yes, send the script.
That's hilarious.
But I think if you didn't come up poor though, did you? You weren't like from a poor background.
It was an interesting situation. My family used to have money back in the day. My grandfather was a prominent contractor. He built schools and houses and was very successful. But he died unexpectedly at 50, and my grandmother took over everything and just didn't have the skill set at that time to make good decisions. And she tried to help people out of jams, and just a series of things happened. So by the time I came and my brothers, there was no money. So I had a mother who knew wealth and grew up with it and now was broke. Yeah. And she was a teacher, and my dad was not. He had a different job all the time, very blue collar. Yeah. So I did not grow up with money, but I had a house over my head. I had food on the table. So it's subjective as to what you would say. I had opportunities, but we often had the water being shut off because my mom couldn't pay the bill.
That's hard.
So yeah, I had all of us. I remember when I was in when my brothers were in high school, in the summer, my mom didn't have much money because she was a teacher. So my brothers both and my mom were working at a local kind of a version of the Sizzler, and how it just was kind of trippy that like, how did we get here? But we did what we needed to do to make money. I was working at the recreation department, and I think I wouldn't be where I'm at in this career had I not learned early on how to do that, how to work for your own money.
Yeah, like create your own thing. I mean, did you ever try out for Saturday Night Live? Did you ever go for that?
Twice, yeah. Yeah. Back in 2009, 2010. It's funny, I made a reel of characters and stuff. A friend of mine from my tiny town said, "Hey, I'm good friends with one of the SNL producers." I'm like, "Yeah, right." And she's like, "I am." Like, she works for the show. I told her like to watch you. You're funny. And I thought, here I've moved 3,000 miles away from my tiny town to try to make it, and here a friend is helping me. And I made this reel. She told me where to send it, and that friend watched it. And then I got a call one day. I just signed with the manager, only been with her for a week. I got a call out of nowhere from this is Lindsay from Saturday Night Live. I watched your tape and I'm like, "Are you serious? My friend really told you?" And she's like, "Yeah, we loved your tape." I was in the Groundlings at the time, in the school, not even in the company yet. And she goes, "We want you to audition." I was like, my whole world was like, "Are you kidding me? This is like the greatest moment of my life." She goes, "But you have to be on a plane tonight and you're going to audition in the morning in New York City." And I was like, "Oh my God." But the not having time to get worried and nervous, I think was helpful. Yeah. So that audition, I think, was my best one. And then I didn't get it because he often had people try out 2 or 3 times. Right. They came and watched our group at the Groundlings 6 months later.
Was it Lauren in the audition? Was Lauren in the audition?
Lauren was, yeah. I think this was the Seth Meyers. I think Seth Meyers might have been the head writer at the time. Right. So he was in there. And then they brought me back a year later to audition again. But you do all your best stuff their first audition. Yeah. You give them everything. Because you're just like, I want this job so bad. So that when they brought me back, I was like, "Oh my God, I gave them everything. What do I do?" But you know what's crazy, Craig, is it didn't even occur to me, and this seems so wild now, to do stand-up. I didn't even audition with stand-up. And I was a stand-up. So
you were doing characters and I mean, you were there?
I was doing characters and impressions. I could have just done a stand-up set, and I didn't even think of that.
When did you start doing?
Get it.
Yeah, when did you start doing stand-up? Then you didn't do it. You did characters for a while before you did stand-up.
I started Groundlings 2005. I started stand-up 2007.
Right.
And I did well with characters and improv, but stand-up was where I really started to thrive. That is where.
Where were you doing it? In the improv in LA and
the Comedy Store's where I started. Right. I was.
I've never been there.
You haven't ever?
I've never even been in the building.
You have to go.
I know. I've just never been there.
Oh my gosh, that's wild. I know. Yeah, that's where I came up. I came up in the belly room up there, the small room. Yeah. I took a stand-up class, and at the end of the class, we performed in the belly room.
Who teaches you to do stand-up?
Yeah, it was a class that this guy Adam Barnhart taught it, and he had a show every Sunday night at the store. And after my class, he said, if you want to do a spot every Sunday night, if you do the music for my show, I'll give you 10 minutes. And as a brand new comic, 10 minutes amazing. Every Sunday was huge. So I got really strong at stand-up really quickly because I was getting spots
Stage
that no
time,
other brand new comic got.
Yeah.
So by 2010, I got passed as a regular at the store.
What does that mean then? Because I'm not familiar with how that works. Do you sit an exam or something?
No. So Mitzi Shore, who started the club and was very infamous for, helping comics careers. You basically showcase like a 3-minute set for her. And if you got passed, that meant that you could like perform in the main rooms there. Otherwise,
so if you do it like first of all, I don't know if I could do a 3-minute set. I don't even. It takes me like 25 minutes to settle down.
Same here. It was tough for me. My stories are like 8 minutes.
Yeah. So, and do you do it just like with her? Is just like you just do it to her, or is
no? You do it as part of like a show. They would have bringer shows at that point, and they would tell you like, okay, we're gonna tape your set tonight, and we're gonna either Mitzi would be there in person or she would watch it on the video. She watched mine on the video because she was getting older at that point. I was one of the last group of people she passed at the club.
She's passed on now, hasn't she?
She has, yeah.
Yeah.
And
so who does it now then? How do they do it now?
I don't know, honestly. There must be someone there that's in charge of making those decisions, but
I'm figuring out how I get passed to go and
I think you have an in.
I don't know. I've never been there. I kind of feel like, you got to follow the rules. You got to do the thing.
They would put you up in 2 seconds, so you would not have a problem.
I think
it just meant a lot to me to get past because that was I had not been on television yet, so I felt like I earned it. Like, the coming up the chain and getting better, and those rooms at the store are meant to be tougher. She considered those rooms workout rooms. If you can kill at the Comedy Store, you can kill anywhere. And they purposely make it hard for you. Like when I got passed, my spots were at like 1 a.m. for like 4 drunk guys. It was not easy. But it did make me such a stronger comic. And 2010, I did Last Comic Standing, and then
tell me about that, because that's a competitive TV show, right? That was like, I'm trying to think. Taylor Williamson did that as well, didn't he?
Yeah, we were on the same season.
All right, okay. Because Taylor's a sweet guy. He's lovely, and I always thought that stand-up is so kind of weirdly difficult, and so particularly when you're starting, it's hard, and then to have it be put into a form of a competition as well. It's like, oh my God, it's a hat on a hat. That's hard.
And it's subjective,
So did you, is there a large group of people and they whittle you down? How does it work?
Yeah. It started with auditions at the Improv. There would be a line out the door where you'd wait in line forever just to get seen. But, they have the line where anyone can try out. But they also kind of had a back door where they asked certain comics to audition, so you would have like a time to show up.
Right.
And I knew I got a time slot, so I auditioned. And
they have that at the DMV in Hollywood as well.
Yeah, you make an appointment.
Yeah, but at the DMV, there's a celebrity door at the DMV in Hollywood.
I didn't know. I don't know about that.
I'll hook you up. It's,
all right.
You're in and out in 5-10 minutes. I'll give you at the
Comedy Store. You'll get me at the DMV.
Yeah, I'll get you in the DMV. You get me up in the belly room or
That's
whatever.
Right.
Yeah. So, so the you do the audition. Who's judging you at the audition then? Just like producers or something?
No, they had 3 judges, and the producers weigh in too. It was Greg Giraldo, Andy Kindler, and Natasha Leggero.
Okay.
And I had a good audition, and I think I made it to the semifinals. And I remember when I got eliminated, I was pretty green. I was only 3 years into stand-up, so if I had kept going, I would have run out of material.
Right.
I just didn't have the, the wealth of material these other guys had. So I went exactly enough to give people a taste of like who I am and make them curious about me. So it was hugely helpful for me. And Greg Giraldo, I remember, sent me an email after I got eliminated, just really encouraging me and telling me, you got something here, you got to keep it going. And he was such a comics comic, and so well respected, that meant a lot. So, that started everything. I started headlining shows again, only 3 years into stand up. I really had to learn by sucking really bad at a lot of these gigs.
Did you tour the country? Did you do like the Ha Ha Hut and
Yeah, I was doing
all those places?
A lot of the NACA stuff, like college shows. I was doing a lot of that.
I haven't done a college show since I was the age of people who were in college. I guess.
They're hard. They're hard.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
No, I think I did a couple, maybe 10 years ago.
I don't think I would do them now. I think those days are past. But
do you think is that because, I mean, I remember Jerry Seinfeld saying that, he would stop doing colleges because people are so touchy about everything. Is that part of it?
For me, no, because I'm just telling stories about my life and, just not really digging into current events. For me, I just don't think they would relate to my life, and I can't really relate to theirs. Like, I remember when I started doing college shows, being like, God, you guys are so young. Like, I thought I was so old in college, but they're babies. And I just don't think, and I tell these long stories. They just want that punchier, like quick stuff.
I think so.
Their attention spans are so small, but
I think if you're lucky,
and then that led to Chelsea Lately, and that's kind of what started it all.
I think what happens as well is that because you were a panel, you were on the panel with Chelsea, right?
I was, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I always think Chelsea's very funny. She's so generous and so kind and so nice. And I always try to bust her on because she's really, she can be really, cutting. And I think that she likes to think she's really cutting, but she can't help but be nice. I watch her all the time. It's so funny.
I mean, it changed my life. I was broke. Yeah. I mean, I really did not know how I was going to pay my bills. I was had like $20 left in my bank account. That's not an exaggeration.
Yeah,
and I submitted a writing packet, and by some miracle got that job. And I went from having nothing, making like $50 here and there on these gigs, and then 500 was like a big night, to like getting this nice salary, insurance. And then like on Halloween, they would just like, her assistant would just like drop $1,000 on all the writers' desk. And I would be like, what is this? And she's like, oh, Chelsea signed got a bonus or something. So this is for all the writers. I'm just like, what? And $1,000 made such a difference in my life.
Sure.
She was very generous, and
I got a lot of time for her. I really do. I think she's true to herself, and she's very funny.
And she was putting people on TV. I think you're similar, where you see the uniqueness in people, and you're like, that person's not like necessarily like has a TV look, or like who you would see in these positions, but they're funny. And she would give people opportunities that the industry was not giving people at the time. And no one knew what to do with me. And I was considered weird and different. And she was like, that's exactly what I like. And once she said yes, everyone started saying yes.
Yeah, it's funny. I know it's it's an odd thing. I think that it's a little healthier now.
Yeah.
Because of
it's more
how democratic the kind of business is that people can put their stuff up there. But I do think that as much as, it's an odd thing because, like, I'm in my 60s now, and the idea of playing to young crowds is like, why would I do that? But they turn up. It's kind of weird, And I think what it is it's not really age related. I think it's about you find your audience and your audience finds you. Like my people are, there's not enough of my type of people to fill a fucking stadium. There never will be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just, there's not enough, and that's it. At first, like you kind of look for that, like massive popularity.
Right.
But if I can keep my audience, like that's who I do working for,
that's a sweet spot. Yeah.
I think so. Do you find that you have that now for you, that, you have your own audience, that you're comfortable, what's going to work and what's not going to work and how they'll be?
Yeah, I think I've definitely cultivated my audience. I started, like I said, headlining in 2010, and I just had this plan of like every year and a half, I'm going to go to this city, and the hope is that every time I go, I've built the audience a bit more, more, and I would stay after every show, 4 or 5 shows in that weekend, and I would meet every single person. And with this like thought of like having a grassroots sort of like, I'm going to connect with every person that comes to these shows in hopes that they'll continue to follow me as I go up this, or hopefully go up this ladder. And they did. So,
and they do, and they stay with you. It's the funniest thing. It's like, I do meet and greets now after a show, and people come up and like, they've seen me 25 years ago, and they bring up stuff
that's amazing.
They get you stuff to sign when I'm like, oh my God, I can hardly even remember doing that. It's I really I was very resistant to the meet and greet thing for a while, because I thought it kind of, I didn't think it was going to be helpful. I thought it'd be like the comment section or something, but it's not.
Them giving you notes about your show.
Yeah, but it's not like that.
Care for this joke.
Yeah, you know what would be better? And I was like, oh, I don't want that. But it's not like that at all. It's much more social,
love, right?
And it's kind of, you kind of get to hear people's stories a little bit, and I think because I think it's easy to forget sometimes when you do the job that we do, that how kind of people who, it kind of helps sometimes to have a laugh, and then people kind of respond to it, and they want to tell you about it.
Yeah.
And I used to kind of go, oh no, but now I don't. I'm like, oh, thank you, tell me. And
for sure.
It's
it's nice.
Is there anyone that does that for you? Is there a comedian or somebody that does it for you? It just like never fails to make you laugh?
Oh gosh, there's so many that, well, I do this podcast called Handsome, and Tig Notaro is one of the hosts.
One of the greats.
And Tig's always making me crack up just because her brain is so different.
Yeah.
And unique. So I'm often laughing at her insane antics.
I had her on late night once as a guest, and I could see she was kind of like, the fuck is this?
That's Tig's kind of look always, though.
Yeah, it was like, she was like, what the fuck is this? Although I saw that a lot on late night when people were like, what the fuck is this? I thought of myself a lot. But that's kind of going away now, late night, isn't it? It's kind of like,
I know. I just saw that the spot, the late spot,
my
your spot is gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah,
they've are not doing after midnight, and they're just gonna leave it be. That is, I read that yesterday and was like, oh wow, like.
I'm not surprised, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the attrition that's been, then just the numbers going down. No one's watching it. I mean, no. I mean, it's just that people are watching other things. I don't think.
Yeah, or they're watching that online.
Yeah. I mean, look, I remember, like, I quit late night in 2014.
Mm-hmm. Gosh, 2014. I didn't realize that was when it was. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time ago. I started it in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
And I quit I started January 2005 and I quit December 2014. So it was 10 years almost to the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, even then, you know, stuff like Jimmy Fallon was doing hashtag games online, and people were starting to say things like, oh, can you make stuff for Twitter and stuff? I was like, why? I don't fucking, that's extra work. I don't want to do that. I do this show and that's what I do.
Right.
And then in the years after that, it became, I think it's how people watch late night now. I don't know anyone that, I mean, maybe they do, you know, watches the whole show.
Yeah.
I think they just watch clips. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's that attention span. They're like, give it to me in 2-minute increments.
Do you have that? Are you good at kind of like
the social media?
Do you read? Do you watch a movie from start to finish, only watching the movie without your phone in your hand?
Oh God, I'm guilty of it myself. I have bad ADD. Like,
oh yeah,
the radio show Do with Tom. Like, they're always having to reel me in. I'm like, you know, I start looking outside the window and. Or I'll like check my email. It's gotten bad. I do think our phones are just rotting our brains. So
I think a little bit. I mean, it's hard because on the other hand, it's such a fabulous tool, an amazing invention. And at the other, you know, but nothing's free. You know, there's always the universe is, you know, cause and effect.
Yeah,
you know? There's always
it's so convenient. But man, trying to get. Especially writing new, you know, I'm on a new tour now. My special came out, and as you know, as a comic, every time you put out a special,
that's it.
You gotta start fresh. And sitting down to write the material is one of my toughest parts of this job for me. Just concentrating and thinking about what I want to say.
Can I give you a tip about this? Because this is something I found out about this. Like right at the beginning, when I was writing stand-up, when I was doing a ton of writing, I was a cast member on the Drew Carey show. Mm-hmm. But I used to write all the time. And I was maybe do 1, 2, 3 scenes a week if it was a heavy week. And the rest of the time, I was just like, you know, sitting in my trailer. And so I wrote in the trailer all the time.
Wow,
and I had a bit of not block, but I was having trouble kind of settling down into writing. Mm-hmm. And then I went on Facebook Marketplace and I bought a fucking trailer and I put it in my garden.
Really?
Yeah, I bought an Airstream and I go into the trailer and it's just like back at the beginning. The smell's the same, the table's the same, the thing's the same, the trailer's the trailer. I go in and suddenly I'm like, oh, and I can work. So I think what you have to do is whatever you used to do back in the day, recreate that environment, and that's how you work.
Oh, wow. Never even thought about that. All right.
Yeah, I just kind of stumbled into it.
Yeah.
Also, because I was on Facebook Marketplace. So, which is porn for me at this point.
Getting good deals.
Oh my God. And so I got an Airstream, a classic Airstream trailer, and I just go into it and I love I work at it and it works. It works. It's amazing. I've written, like, I had a special come out in January. I've got another one. I'm going to shoot another one in October. I could write 2 a year at this point. It's just like bum, 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 bum.
I think
it's about, you need an Airstream is what you need.
I better go on Facebook Marketplace stat.
Yeah. Do you still have a place in Carolina?
I used to, but I got rid of it.
Because that's a great place for an Airstream.
I know. That's what I think I hoped it was going to be, and then I just never got home.
Yeah.
But I could see, I would like something like that, but where I could drive to it.
Yeah. That's what happened to me. I moved back to Scotland for a long time.
Yeah.
But every time I wanted to work, I had to get a flight to America. So I don't work over there. And so I now live in New York City and I have a place outside of New York and I can drive between the two of them.
Oh, that's nice.
Because, a 7-hour plane ride every time you want to do a stand-up spot is still a little much.
Lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. I mean, they have stand-up there, but
not quite the same as New York.
It's not. It's not. It's just not. Also, I love New York. So you still live in LA?
I live in LA. I've been out here about 22 years now.
I lived there 23.
You did? Yeah.
I did, yeah.
I still love it. I think I'm going to, it feels like the place for me. Who knows if that will ever change, but
yeah.
The West Coast vibe suits me. I like to visit my family in the South, but then I got to get back to the West Coast where the gays can live freely.
Yeah. Well, I think the idea is that the gays can live freely everywhere.
That's the hope.
That's the hope. Well, I'm in New York City now, and I have to tell you, I think it's okay for gays in New York as well. Just so you know.
Okay, good.
I think as well. Look, I can't say for sure. It's not my life experience, but it seems like it's going okay.
All right, good. I don't need to hide in your Airstream.
No, I hide in my Airstream. I can't. It's not really so much about the Airstream. It's about creating the environment that was right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because I find myself, the older I get, I don't know if this has happened to you, but I start to miss the energy and the fun of starting out.
Yeah.
And for a while there, I got a little down about it. I'm like, it's all fucking in the rearview mirror.
Right.
But then if you create an environment where it is just like the way you started, and go and do a club. And do a club. I mean, it's I don't have to set up like go and do, actually Charlotte is one of my, there's is it an improv?
The Comedy Zone.
Comedy Zone in Charlotte.
Yeah.
It's a great club.
Yeah, it is.
That is a great club. I love doing that club. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And I think doing those like clubs, because I was not doing clubs for a long time. And then going into a town for a weekend and just doing a club is it's fucking great.
I've been doing those, building this act. So I start my my tour in a couple of weeks, but I've been doing the clubs. You're right. It's so nice to just get back to like your roots.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you watch, you see musicians where they do well and then they have the orchestra and the fucking laser beams and the clog dancers and all that. And then you see them strip it down and play with two people or just an acoustic guitar. I think that's the equivalent.
Yeah.
Go back to what you do.
Yeah, you're right.
What you do, and also that, and I think only stand-ups understand this. The feeling of freedom when you have an act that hasn't been recorded.
Yeah,
you can go to any town where they speak this language. Like, I know where I can go anywhere I need to, and I'll have enough to eat.
For sure.
Yeah. It is that the autonomy, it's the, also I think, I don't know about, I mean, because you have a background in sketch comedy, which means like working with other people. I don't know if I work that well with other people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now you don't have to.
Yeah.
Just you and Joe Bolter.
Me, Joe. I like Tom. I like Tom very much.
Yeah,
I think I could work
great.
with Tom. He's one of the great. What's interesting, I think, about Tom as a stand-up, he's as nice a guy doing stand-up as he is as a guy.
I know. He's a good guy.
Yeah, it's he's really. I almost can smell the bread cooking while he's doing stand-up.
Yeah,
he's a very authentically who he is, and I like that. That's what I'm drawn to in comedians.
Yeah.
Authenticity.
Same,
and funny. Well, you're that, and well done.
Oh, thanks, Greg.
And you're off the hook, and get out of here.
Well, thanks for having me. This was
it's
so
great
cool
to
talk to you.
It's lovely to talk to you too. Give Joe and Tom my best on your radio show.
I'm headed to Sirius XM right now. I will tell Joe I just talked to you.
Well, tell them both I miss them very much.
I will.
And I look forward to my next invite to be on the
on our show.
What do they call it? The Tom Papa Show?
What a joke with Papa and
What
Fortune.
a joke.
Yeah,
because I was going to say, you get billing in this thing,
I do, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Well, thanks, Craig. So fun talking with you, bud.
Thanks, Fortune. Take it easy. It's lovely to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you, too.
Bye.